Well, there's no doubt that we are living in trying times. Schools have closed. Millions are hitting unemployment. The death toll from the coronavirus keeps climbing. It's very easy to lose hope, which is why Pastor Alan Jackson says now is the time for intentional faith.
Alan Jackson is the senior pastor of 15,000-member World Outreach Church in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. After 39 years of ministry, he's observed a thing or two.
So many people have quietly given up hope that God will make any meaningful difference in their lives. I've observed another group of people. They get to know God in a personal, dynamic, transformational way.
Pastor Jackson says there are reasons why some believers thrive while others don't. In his book, Intentional Faith, he explains how every Christian can have a vibrant walk with God.
Alan Jackson now joins us via Skype. Pastor Jackson, welcome. We're so glad to have you with us.
Thank you. It's good to be with you this morning.
I want to say you had an op-ed published in Christian Post the other day, and you said prayer is not for crisis use only. Talk about that a little bit. We tend to do that.
Well, we do. I think it's the way we've learned to pray. We tend to relegate prayer to formal religious services, or else it's just a real crisis in our lives. But I imagine prayer to be an invitation to God, so that whenever we offer a prayer, we invite God into the midst of our circumstances or our day or our family or our work. And when we fail to pray, we fail to extend that invitation. So I encourage people to cultivate the habit of just very intentionally inviting God into their day. When you wake up in the morning, Lord, I thank you for a new day. Go with me today. When I pull into the parking lot of work in the morning, Lord, I thank you for a job and a place to work. Go with me today. If you'll extend those invitations to God, you'll find that prayer becomes an integral part of who you are and all of your day.
Yeah. I know that this is a time where everybody is challenged with how to continue to do business and can't do it the usual way. Churches are being forced to close their doors across the country. What's your church's battle plan?
That's a great choice of words. We've been live streaming services on Saturdays and Sundays and doing daily video updates and creating content for the children. We have so many families with children at home. We've been creating content for them every day. They've been memorizing Psalms, learning hand gestures, and people can share it that way. But then we wrote a battle plan. Literally, we labeled it and we sent it out. And we've been asking people to pray every hour on the hour. And we gave them a set of 7 prayers they could pray, so that if you're awake for a 14-hour day, you can repeat the cycle twice. And so it's not like a snow day where we want to hunker down and endure the season. We want to reposition our lives to cooperate with God so we can hear him and come out of this season in a totally new place with him spiritually.
Your book is entitled Intentional Faith. I want to show folks what the cover looks like, because it's a great message for all of us today. Will you define what you see as intentional faith?
Yes, I will. I think I'm uncomfortable with the way that we have packaged our faith. And I've spent my life in the ministry, so I'm not being critical of anyone. It's just an observation. I think we've told people that if they maintain a weekly appointment with God and you keep those appointments with some regularity, you've really discharged your religious responsibility. And it's left us with a passive attitude. I'm open to anything God has for me. I'll do whatever he wants. But we imagine that God should disrupt our lives. And I believe that's not a very fruitful way to develop a relationship. We have to intend to grow. I wouldn't mind losing 5 pounds. If I woke up tomorrow 5 pounds lighter, I'd be okay with that. But unless I do something about it intentionally, I'm going to get fluffier, not thinner. And if we don't intend to grow spiritually, it's highly improbable we will accomplish it. So we just created some principles, the statements of intent that would enable people to establish momentum towards God. I have found that if we will take the slightest step towards him, God will move to meet us.
Yeah, it's a promise, really, isn't it?
It is.
It is. What holds us back? I think most of us, as believers anyway, when we first come to Christ, we're very intentional because we're very aware of the impact that Christ is having on our lives. Do we just kind of start to take him for granted after a while?
I think we do. And I think, honestly, maybe we haven't even been invited to integrate God into our daily life. We've thought of him as a burden or an intrusion or a limit. And getting to know Jesus will lift the limits from your life, not add to them. He is not a diminishing force. He is an unlimiting friend. And helping people understand that, I find people are very willing to move towards it, we walked through these 10 statements of intent with our congregation for a couple of years, and I was so amazed at the outcomes. It's what caused us to put them into the book. And then we created 100 Days of Faith video. I'll join with you. They're 3 or 4 minute videos. We'll drop them in your inbox every day, and I'll actually walk you through this, because I think people want to do well. They just don't know how. I
agree. You invite your readers to commit to 100 days of intentional faith. What does that look like?
Well, it's not as intrusive as you might imagine. We're going to ask them over a period of 100 days to read the New Testament with us. And I'll step in through video in the morning and kind of help you unpack it so you don't get hung up on the big words or the names of the cities that you don't know. But along with that, we're going to introduce some daily disciplines. They're really classic spiritual disciplines. We've just put them into some contemporary language and implementation so that we don't get intimidated by the history of it. Being a follower of Jesus is not a new thing in the 21st century. In fact, it's been proven over time. We're just trying to reintroduce people to some classic expressions of our faith.
What do you expect the outcome for them to be?
I think it is life-changing. It will open their heart to the imagination of a God. Most of us have to wait for a crisis. And the purpose of this book is you don't want to have to wait till you're in a crisis. When I was 7, my mom was diagnosed with cancer and told she had 6 months to live. And we were to church every week, but we didn't know God. And on the way to Mayo Clinic for major surgery, she said, if there is a God, let me know the truth before I die. And when they did the preliminary exam, they had all the tumors and the masses in the films, but the doctors couldn't find them any longer. Wow. And a few weeks later, Jesus stepped in and said, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. And my parents became Christ followers, and it changed our lives. And we want to help people gain that momentum without having to walk through that crisis.
Well, Alan, the book is wonderful. I found it very encouraging. It's called Intentional Faith, Aligning Your Life with the Heart of God. Thanks for being with us.